Being neurodivergent in an ableist world, we're often told that the way that we think, behave, and communicate is inherently flawed, that we're wrong and defective as human beings because we don't function the way that we're expected to function. Often social mistakes are replaced and seen in the eyes of neurotypicals as being moral flaws. We said something inappropriate, we were insensitive, we were too blunt, we were inconsiderate, and therefore we are bad people. We don't have inherent worth. There's something inherently wrong with us. And whether that's explicitly conveyed or just implied by somebody's reaction and their withdrawal of attention, their exclusion, their marginalization, their bullying, their ostracism, we will read that behavior, even if it's not explicit, as being a reflection of our worth, as being an indictment of our being. And that's because a lot of these experiences are stacked. We have a clear succession of multiple events in which we've failed to meet some expectation that was never explained to us, that's based on neurotypical logic. And because we failed it consecutively, we start to believe that must be true. If we're constantly getting this adverse reaction when we just show up as our authentic selves, when we try to function as best we know with what we've been given at the time, which is often not a lot, we still find that we're failing and we're disappointing people. And so I guess it must mean that's the truth. There's something wrong with us. And as a result, many of us develop fawn responses. We people please, we second guess ourselves, we chronically self-doubt. We roll over and show our belly at the slightest provocation, at any doubt that we've done something wrong, belief that we might have upset somebody. We over-apologize, we overcompensate, we overfunction. We're constantly doing a moral inventory of ourselves. Did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Did I hurt this person? Was I right for saying this? Should I have not spoken up? Should I set a boundary around this? Am I going to hurt this person's feeling? If I do set a boundary, should I communicate what my needs and expectations are? Am I going to be imposing? And this is endless. This perseveration about what we are or aren't doing enough of, or adequately or well enough, or if we're not being this quality, it's incessant. And we live in constant self-doubt. We can never feel or rest assured that we are doing the best that we can. There's always a niggling feeling that somehow we failed. And that if we don't stay on our toes, if we don't second guess ourselves, if we don't constantly query what we've done and what we've said, we're going to slip up. And that judgment's going to come down on us like a ton of bricks. And it might seem a little bit paranoid looking from the outside in, but again, this is a response to a series of events that have trained us to respond and reflect and engage in this way. It's incredibly tiring. It's exhausting to always be doing an inventory of yourself and your actions, often when the case is clear that the other person isn't. People who grow up in the center, who are privileged and advantaged, like neurotypicals, don't have to engage in this amount of self-reflection and experience this self-doubt generally as a population because they don't have to second guess the way that they operate. We do, because we're being told constantly, the message is being conveyed that we've failed and we're inferior. So we are often doing a lot more of the self-reflection work than the neurotypical might be in social interactions. And yet the onus is on us to do that because we're going to upset them. And this is where the double empathy problem comes into it. There's no consideration to how we operate, how we are, and whether that's even legitimate because their baseline is pushed onto us and it's conveyed that should be our baseline as well. And so there's a lack of reflection, generally speaking, on their behalf, lack of consideration that maybe the way that they operate isn't the way that everybody else operates, that their way of being might be as legitimate as our way of being. And because there's this clear power imbalance, power differential when you're neurotypical, we are the ones who have to kowtow, who have to bend over backwards to compensate, to adjust, to meet their needs, often unexpressed, and often without the skills that we necessarily might otherwise want to have to be able to meet those needs. We have to train ourselves to acquire those skills, to develop that knowledge, to practice a certain ability until it feels second nature. And this power imbalance is the source of oppression. Because we can't operate in the world, we can't live in the world resting assured that we're okay, that we're, fundamentally okay human beings, that we're worthy of love, of acceptance and forgiveness and mercy and grace. And so that's why we cycle back to that moral inventory, because if we don't hold ourselves accountable, an attack is going to come from outside, and we're going to experience all the negative feelings associated with it and the powerlessness that comes from feeling like no matter what we do, nothing Nothing can succeed. We're always doomed to some form of failure because somebody's going to come out of the woodwork, somebody's going to come out of the left field and attack us and tell us that we missed this thing, we didn't do this thing, we didn't meet this expectation, we didn't hit the bar. Have you struggled with this as a neurodivergent? Have you found yourself often doing a lot of this moral inventorying and self-reflection and self-analysis and judgment as a kind of protective mechanism to preempt other people criticizing and judging you and drawing these moral conclusions about you and your person? I would love to hear all about your experiences.